Um, this recording is for the Quantum Bell channel, and you guys know that I'm doing research to understand how I can train a technician to solve a lot of problems in my community. And it's important to note that while it seems some of it seems really basic the way I'm putting it together, and some of it might seem unnecessary. The advanced stage of electronic warfare or cyber communications and cyber fronts, we're in the first few years of these sort of assaults, and to get an education early on how this works on several fronts, it enables people to understand it, to find these problems, to be capable or technically competent enough to provide a service solving problems for people, to defend a town or defend a community by understanding and then learning how to apply these as services. And the importance of doing it at such an early stage is 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 300 years from now. This technology literally exterminates these humans. And when I talk about this technology, what I'm talking about is an assortment of problems. To give you an example, the National Security Agency was one of the most advanced radio operations in the world back in 1950s, 1960s. They were technically competent, they were brilliant people, and just about every one of them could build an oscilloscope from scratch. And, there were a lot of people working for, NASA or other agencies also with these capabilities to build electronics. And then with the proliferation of technology and radio services or radio technologies, what emerged is a weaponized use for radio systems or cyber warfare, electronic warfare, and in such a way that as the National Security Agency grew into a group that suggested that defense for a nation was really just about cell phones and computer systems, the rest of the nations are just now learning to build radios and exploit them and use them for warfare, and it left the United States vulnerable. So in the state of Florida, what we're doing is building a unit. It's a radio battalion that actually fills the services and the roles the national security thinks are, not important these days. And among our technicians, we're actually beginning to observe that we're competing with other nations: Africa, Russia, China, India, England, European Union, South America. And these are emerging nations that are just putting together units to learn about radio, exploit radio, put satellites in space, or build towers, or use other forms of radio communication. So the proliferation of technology has led to a situation where, as a corporation, I'm able to indicate to people these are what for a lot of people are really advanced technologies, but they can be located easily. So I'm trying to keep it basic. So if you know how I talk about sciences, I keep it about the philosophy of, and I try not to stay technical. Where on my paperwork I might talk about equations in my head. I'm working with math, but trying to explain it to other people. If you've ever had the opportunity to try and explain anything to anyone else that's technically adept at what you're talking about, they'll understand it, but if they don't have any interest or anything else, they really don't. So trying to keep it basic is important, and over the long term, to build a defensive strategy that actually provides a measurable defense as a civilian, and also participating with defensive radio battalions, and where the importance for a defensive radio battalion is understanding the offensive tactic and then learning how to use it as applied for a role as a citizen of the United States or another nation, and then to provide a defense. So, for example, some people might be concerned, why do I teach this simple hand tool? It's so basic, nobody really understands it. And, the truth is it finds so many different fields. It's unreal how many fields it finds. If it affects the person, I'm going to find the field. And the interesting part is to if an advanced nation goes into Africa or South America or even the United States rural areas and makes an assault on these communities with some advanced technology using this form of stuff, we're able to locate it. And I can teach a tribe to use a tool and a map easier than I can teach them to use a computer and program a satellite. So what I'm doing is really it's really important to the growth of the concept here and the presentation for defense, and using tools that are natural tools. They're easy to use. They're maybe not so easy to understand. I mean, 100 people learning these tools might apply it however they find a way to apply it. And what's important is that it's a defense, and then going through all of the different things that it can do, reducing it down to something that can be presented as an educational opportunity.